So in the previous video, we introduced object. We saw what an object is and the structure of an object. So before we go into accessing the properties of an object, we want to look at the different methods, the different ways we can create objects. Of course, we created an object in the previous video using this method, but we have two methods, two ways we can use in creating objects. We have the object literal notation. So using this notation, objects are created using curly braces. That's the method we use here. So this is the object literal notation method. So using this method, you just you have something like this, the name of the object here, and we have curly braces, and in the curly braces you provide the key value pairs, so key value like that, so depending on the data you are dealing with. And another method is object constructor. So we also have the object constructor notation, and in this method objects are created using the new keyword. We make use of object constructor functions and classes. So we're going to show how we can create objects using object constructor function, but classes will be dealt with in a later video. So we're going to have we're going to have a series of videos that will focus on classes. That's a more complex concept, and I don't want to go into that now. But know that we can create objects with classes as well. So when we get to classes, we are going to look at how we can create objects with classes and a lot of other things around classes. Right. So in this video, we're just going to deal with creating objects with object literals. We have already done this. So next, let's look at creating objects using object constructor and using object constructor functions. So object constructor function is a function that is used to create an object. So let's see how we can create this same object, the student object. Let me delete all this. You don't need that. So let's see how we can create this same student with the constructor function. So to do that, we do something like this: function, and the name of the function, let's call the student, and in the function we pass in some parameters. So we're going to pass in the first name like this, last name, age, and email. And we have the body of the function. So in the body of the function, we're going to have this dot first name is equal to, we assign it to first name. That's the first name that was passed into this function, and this dot last name, we assign it to last name. That's the last name that was passed here. This dot age will be age, and this dot email will be email. Right. So this basically what we have done here is to create a blueprint for this object. So from here we can create different objects. Now some things may sound confusing here. We have this keyword. this is basically referring to this object. So the object we have here, that's what the this keyword is referring to. So when you say this dot first name, you are saying the first name property of this student is equal to this first name that was passed in here, right? We are going to talk more about this keyword when we look at classes. Right. So for now, just know that this is referring to the object, and when you say this dot a property, you are referring to the property on that object. So how do we create an object from this? Now, when you have this structure like this blueprint, to create an object from this, I can say let student, or let me just give it a short form, student, like this. I think this is better. So student data is equal to new student, and we're going to pass in the values in this order: the first name, last name, age, and email. So first name will be Lawrence, last name will be Adu, age will be an integer, and email will be something. Right. So let's see if we print console.log student and console.log student data. So we have two objects here, this and this, and I want us to look at the values when we print. All right, so we can see so this actually came with the name of the object, which is student. That's in the second instance, right? So it came with the name of the object, which is student, while this printed just the value. So if you are printing it using the console, that's the difference you will get, right? But that doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, when you are making use of this, you are not going to be printing it on the console the way we are doing. We just want to see the structure. That's why we are printing it on the console. So we can see that basically we have the same data. So first name this, last name this, like that. So we have been able to create object using the object literal method and the constructor function. So any of the methods can work. You can make use of this. So in your code, you are most likely going to be using this method more. In my experience, I've seen people use this method more. I think it's easier than having to create something like, this method, the object literal. So you're going to be using the object literal method more than the constructor function, right? So I think this method is easier than having to first create a constructor function like this and then creating the object here using the new keyword. So this method is easier and is quicker. So even though there are some scenarios where you may need something like this, so if you want to have like a blueprint, we are going to talk more about that when we treat classes, right? So you want to create multiple objects from this, then you will have to go with the constructor function. But if you just want an object just once to make use of in your code, then you can just easily do this. Just create this on the fly and use it. So these are the two methods we can use in creating object, and we're going to be treating classes later. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. If you have questions, you can ask in the comment section. Please do well to like and subscribe.